A young college student had stayed up all night studying for his zoology test the next day. As he entered the classroom, he saw 10 stands with 10 sheets over each bird and only the legs showing. He sat right in the front row because he wanted to do the best job possible. The professor announced that the test would be to look at each set of bird legs and give the common name, habitat, genus, species, and identifying characteristic. The student looked at each set of bird legs. They all looked the same to him. He began to get upset. He had stayed up all night studying, and now he had to identify birds by their legs. The more he thought about it, the madder he got. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. He went to the professor's desk and said, "What a stupid test! How could anyone tell the difference between birds by looking at their legs?" With that, the student threw his test on the professor's desk and walked out the door. The professor was surprised. The class was so big that he didn't know every student's name, so as the student reached the door, the professor called out, "One moment, son, what's your name?" The enraged student pulled up his pant legs and said, "You guess, buddy. You guess." One evening, a man was at home watching TV and eating peanuts. He'd toss them in the air and then catch them in his mouth. In the middle of catching one, his wife asked him a question, and as he turned to answer her, a peanut fell in his ear. He tried and tried to dig it out, but succeeded in only pushing it in deeper. He called his wife for assistance, and after hours of trying, they became worried and decided to go to the hospital. As they were ready to go out the door, their daughter came home with her date. After being informed of the problem, their daughter's date said he could get the peanut out. The young man told the father to sit down, then proceeded to shove 2 fingers up the father's nose and told him to blow hard. When the father blew, the peanut flew out of his ear. The mother and daughter jumped and yelled for joy. The young man insisted that it was nothing. Once he was gone, the mother turned to the father and said, "That's so wonderful. Isn't he smart? What do you think he's going to be when he grows older?" The father replied, "From the smell of his fingers, our son-in-law." A CEO of a company called his secretary, his married mistress, and told her that he wants to go on a trip with her this weekend so they can have some fun and that she can tell her husband it's a work trip, so she agreed. She called her husband and told him that she has a work trip so she won't spend this weekend with him. He understood. Her husband called his mistress and told her that his wife is out this weekend so she should come because they will be all alone in the house. She agreed. The husband's mistress, who works as a babysitter, called the CEO and told him that she can't babysit his kid this weekend because she has things to do. So he agreed. The CEO called his secretary, his married mistress, to tell her that he can't go because he needs to babysit his kid. The secretary called her husband and told him the news. The husband told his mistress to cancel. The mistress called the CEO and told him that she canceled her things and she can be with his kid for the weekend. The CEO called his secretary. George was going up to bed when his wife told him that he'd left the light on in the garden shed, which she could see from the bedroom window. George opened the back door to go turn off the light, but saw that there were people in the shed stealing things. He phoned the police, who asked, "Is someone in your house?" And he said no. Then they said that all patrols were busy and that he should simply lock his door and an officer would be along when available. George said, "Okay," hung up, counted to 30, and phoned the police again. "Hello, I just called you a few seconds ago because there were people in my shed. Well, you don't have to worry about them now because I've just shot them all." Then he hung up. Within 5 minutes, 3 police cars, an armed response unit, and an ambulance showed up at George's residence. Of course, the police caught the burglars red-handed. One of the policemen said to George, "I thought you said that you'd shot them." George said, "I thought you said there was nobody available." A wife comes back home to her husband only to find out that the building of her apartment has caught fire. The place is surrounded by firemen and police officers who are not letting anyone through. The wife hysterically goes forward, shouting at them to let her through and that her husband was inside. The fireman tries to calm her down, tells her his condolences and that all the people that were inside are dead. The wife goes even more crazy, wanting to pass through and find her husband. The fireman tries to explain that due to the fire, all the corpses are coal black and that she wouldn't be able to identify him. The wife, now even crazier, insists on going in. I have been his wife for 20 years. I know every inch of him. I definitely can tell him apart. So the firemen finally decide to let her in. She goes to the first bag, opens it, and reaches with her hand all the way down to his private area. That's not him. She then goes to the next bag and repeats the same thing. That's not him either. She opens the third bag and again reaches all the way down to the guy's privates. But this time there is a long pause. This guy is not even from this building. A young blonde fears that her boyfriend is seeing another girl. One day, the girl is visiting her boyfriend's apartment for lunch and stumbles across another woman's discarded garments on his bedroom floor. After sitting coolly through the meal, avoiding eye contact, she quietly excuses herself without explanation. She is incredibly hurt, and on her way home finds herself in a local gun shop, purchasing a handgun. The next day, she awakens with renewed vengeance for her lover's betrayal. She dresses and immediately heads straight to his apartment, gun tucked in the back of her pants as a fail-safe in case things get ugly. Not bothering to knock, she bursts into her boyfriend's apartment to find him and a brunette cuddled up on the couch. As the reality sinks in, the blonde is overcome with complete despair and rage. She whips the gun out and holds it to her own head. The boyfriend leaps off the couch and starts begging and pleading with her not to shoot herself. The blonde, a vile look in her crazed eyes, entirely devoid of that love she once knew, snarls, "Shut up, you're next!" A judge was interviewing a woman regarding her pending divorce and asked, "What are the grounds for your divorce?" She replied, "About 4 acres and a nice little home in the middle of the property with a stream running by." "No," he said. "I mean, what is the foundation of this case?" "It is made of concrete, brick, and mortar, Your Honor," she responded. "I mean," he continued, "what are your relations like? I have an aunt and uncle living here in town, and so do my husband's parents." He said, "Do you have a real grudge?" "No," she replied. "We have a 2-car carport and have never really needed one." "Please." He tried again. "Is there any infidelity in your marriage?" "Yes, both my son and daughter have stereo sets. We don't necessarily like the music, but the answer to your questions is yes." "Ma'am, does your husband ever beat you up?" "Yes," she responded. "About twice a week he gets up earlier than I do." Finally, in frustration, the judge asked, "Lady, why do you want a divorce?" "Oh, I don't want a divorce," she replied. "I've never wanted a divorce. My husband does. He says he just can't communicate with me." A small-town lawyer called his first witness to the stand in a trial, a 80-year-old woman. He approached her and asked, "Mrs. Singh, do you know me?" She responded, "Why, yes, I do know you, Mr. Kulkarni. I've known you since you were a young boy, and frankly, you've been a big disappointment to me. You lie, you cheat on your wife, you manipulate people and talk about them behind their backs. Yes, I know you." The lawyer was stunned. Not knowing what else to do, he pointed across the room and asked, "Mrs. Singh, do you know the defense lawyer?" She again replied, "Why, yes, I do. I've known Mr. Gupta since he was a youngster, too. I used to babysit him for his parents, and he, too, has been a real disappointment to me. He's lazy, bigoted, and he has a drinking problem. The man can't build a normal relationship with anyone, and his law practice is one of the shoddiest in the entire state. Yes, I know him." At this point, the judge called both lawyers to the bench. In a very quiet voice, he said with menace, "If either of you asks her if she knows me, you'll be jailed for contempt." A little old lady was walking down the street, dragging 2 large plastic garbage bags behind her. One of the bags was ripped, and every once in a while a 20 pounds fell out onto the sidewalk. Noticing this, a policeman stopped her and said, "Ma'am, there are 20 pounds notes falling out of that bag." "Oh, really? Darn it," said the little old lady. "I'd better go back and see if I can find them. Thanks for telling me, officer." "Well, now, not so fast," said the cop. "Where did you get all that money? You didn't steal it, did you?" "Oh, no," said the old lady. "You see, my back garden is right next to a golf course. A lot of golfers come and pee through a knothole in my fence right into my flower garden. It used to really tick me off. Kills the flowers, you know. Then I thought, why not make the best of it? So now I stand behind the fence by the knothole. real quiet with my hedge clippers. Every time some guy sticks his thing through my fence, I surprise him, grab hold of it and say, "Okay, mate, give me 20 pounds or off it comes." "Well, that seems only fair," said the cop, laughing. "Okay, good luck. Oh, by the way, what's in the other bag?" "Not everybody pays." A woman walks in the forest and meets a genie. A woman one day takes a hike around the forest by her house to take some time off from people. She stumbles upon a teapot, grabs it, and obviously rubs it. A genie appears. "Hello, lady, you've released me from my trap. Now I shall grant you 3 wishes, but there's a catch. Whatever I give you, your husband will get 3 times larger." The woman looks at the genie and says, "I want $1 billion. The genie responds, "As you wish, but your husband will get 3 billion. The woman continues, "I want a beautiful castle." The genie says, "As you wish, but your husband will get 3 beautiful castles, and they will be larger than yours." The woman then stops and thinks for a moment before claiming her 3rd and final wish and says, "Now give me one tiny, tiny, tiny little heart attack." One morning, the new owner of a saloon was setting up his establishment for the day. He heard a commotion from the street and walked out to see people jumping onto their horses, climbing into buggies, or just running away. "Hey," the owner called to one of the men. "What's going on?" "You better run, barkeep," the man replied. "Big Ed's a-comin', and can't nobody stop him from doing what he wants." Then the man spurred around and rode off. Panicked, the saloon owner ran back inside to grab his money box, but before he could leave, a huge man stepped through the door. He was 7 feet tall and 400 pounds of solid muscle, with a thick black beard and angry eyes. "Barkeep!" He slammed a hand on the bar, splintering it. "Give me all 4 of those bottles of red-eye you got there on the shelf." Shaking with fear, the saloon owner passed the bottles over, and the giant bit the neck off every bottle before downing the contents in one swallow each. He gave a huge belch, tossed a $20 gold piece on the bar, and turned to leave. "Is there anything else you wanted?" the saloon owner asked. "Nope," said the giant. "Gotta leave. Big Ed's a-comin'." A man gets the words "I love you" tattooed on his. He goes home and tears his pants off, eager to show his girlfriend. She looks at him and shakes her head, saying, "There you go again, trying to put words in my mouth." The day after a man lost his wife in a scuba diving accident, he was greeted by 2 grim-faced policemen at his door. "We're sorry to call on you at this hour, Mr. Wilkins, but we have some information about your wife." "Well, tell me," the man said. The policeman said, "We have some bad news, some good news, and some really great news. Which do you want to hear first?" Fearing the worst, Mr. Wilkins said, "Give me the bad news first." So the policeman said, "I'm sorry to tell you, sir, but this morning we found your wife's body in the bay." "Oh, my God," said Mr. Wilkins, overcome by emotion. Then, remembering what the policeman had said, he asked, "What's the good news?" "Well," said the policeman, "when we pulled her up, she had 2 5-pound lobsters and a dozen good-sized Dungeness crabs on her." "If that's the good news, then what's the great news?" Mr. Wilkins demanded. The policeman said, "We're going to pull her up again tomorrow morning." A newlywed couple had been married for 3 months when the wife went for a checkup. The doctor gave her great news. She was pregnant, but there was a catch. Due to a rare complication, she had to avoid intimacy until after the baby was born. She went home and broke the news to her husband. He agreed to be patient, but after a month, he was struggling. One evening, he begged her to reconsider. Feeling bad for him, the wife handed him $100 and said, "I know this is tough for you. Here, take this and find a professional to relieve yourself." The husband was touched by her understanding. He pocketed the money and headed out, feeling lighter already. On his way down, he ran into the neighbor's wife, who noticed his cheerful mood. "Why so happy?" she asked. He explained everything, and she grinned. "Why go out? Give me the $100 and I'll take care of you." Seeing the logic in it, he agreed, handed over the cash, and spent 20 enjoyable minutes with her before heading back upstairs. His wife was surprised. "Wow, that was quick. What happened?" He smiled. I ran into the neighbor's wife, and she said she'd do it for the money instead, so I went with her. His wife's face turned red. That ungrateful cow. When she was pregnant, I did her husband for free. A young man met a beautiful girl and agreed to spend the night with her for $500. So they did. Before he left, he told her that he did not have any cash with him, but that he would have his secretary write a check and mail it to her, calling the payment rent for apartment. On the way to his office, he regretted it and decided it wasn't worth the price. So he had his secretary send a check for $250 and enclosed the following note. Dear Madam, enclosed. Find a check in the amount of $250 for rent of your apartment. I am not sending the amount agreed upon because when I rented the apartment, I was under the impression that it had never been occupied, that there was plenty of heat, that it was small enough to make me cozy and feel at home. Last night, however, I found it had been previously occupied, that there was no heat, and that it was entirely too large. Upon receipt of the note, the girl immediately returned the check for $250 with the following note. Dear Sir, first of all, I cannot understand how you expect a beautiful apartment to remain unoccupied indefinitely. As for the heat, there is heat if you know how to turn it on. Regarding the space, the apartment is indeed of regular size. But if you don't have enough furniture to fill it, please don't blame the landlady. Please be so kind as to send a check for the full amount of $500, or I'll be forced to contact your current landlady. A British man, a French man, and a Spanish man are caught stealing in a foreign country. They are prosecuted, and the judge sentences them all to 100 lashes each. However, he wants to look lenient in the eyes of their respective countries, so he reduces the lashes to 20 and allows them to have 2 requests each before being lashed. The Spaniard is first to be lashed and requests a bottle of tequila and a pillow strapped to his back. They let him drink the tequila and strap the pillow to his back and then commence the lashes. After 5 lashes, the pillow breaks and they keep lashing him. After the 20 lashes, he's bawling and his back is horribly scarred. They haul him away to be sent back to Spain. The Frenchman is next, and he requests 2 pillows, 1 per request. After 10 lashes, the pillows break, and they continue with the next 10. By the end, he's also horribly scarred and bawling, but not as bad as the Spanish guy. While they are hauling off the French guy, the judge turns to the Brit and says, Well, it's your turn now. What do you request? The British man responds, First, I want the original punishment of 100 lashes. I don't believe I should get off easy. The judge yells, You're crazy. Why would you do that? The Brit responds, Because my next request is to have the Frenchman strapped to my back. A man walked into the ER with severe burns and blisters on both sides of his face. He was quickly admitted. The attending physician asked him, How on earth did you burn your face so badly? The man reluctantly began his explanation. It's actually kind of embarrassing, Doc. See, my wife is out of town this week, and so I'm having to do my own cooking. Ah, I see, the doctor interrupted. You poured water on a grease fire on the stove, didn't you? Of course not, said the man. How stupid do you think I am? My mistake, the doctor replied. So how did you burn your face? The embarrassed man continued. As I was saying, my wife's out of town, and so I'm having to do my own cooking and cleaning. Now I see, the doctor interjected again. You slipped and fell face first into a scalding mop bucket. The water doesn't have to be that hot, you know. Of course I know that. I'm not an idiot, the man explained. And that's not what happened either. My apologies again, sir. So how did you burn your face? Turning red, the man started again. As I was saying, my wife is out of town this week, and so I am having to do the cooking, cleaning, and the laundry. Yes, I get that, the doctor exclaimed. But how did that lead to third-degree burns on both cheeks? Well, see, Doc, I was ironing my clothes for work and was in quite a hurry. I had just mopped the kitchen and breakfast was burning on the stove. During all of the commotion, the phone rang. Flustered, I grabbed the iron instead of the phone and pressed it up hard and fast to my face. I have never experienced such pain, doctor. Oh, now I see, the doctor sympathized. But how did you burn the other side of your face? Puzzled, the man replied, Well, Obviously, they called back. A woman from Chicago was driving alone through the wide-open desert in Arizona when her car suddenly broke down. No cell service, no traffic, just silence and sand for miles. Just as panic started to creep in, a Native American man appeared on horseback. "Need a ride into town?" he asked calmly. Grateful, she climbed up behind him, and they began the journey through the desert. The ride was peaceful, except for one strange thing. Every few minutes, the man would suddenly shout, "Yay! Haw!" His voice bounced off the canyon walls like thunder. The woman said nothing, unsure what to make of it. Eventually, they reached a small town. The man let out one last joyful yell and trotted off. She headed straight to a nearby mechanic to get help with her car. The mechanic looked up and asked, "Everything all right, miss?" "Yes," she said. "But I'm a little confused. The man who gave me a ride kept yelling, 'Yee-haw!' the whole time. Any idea why?" The mechanic grinned and asked, "Well, what were you holding on to during the ride?" She replied, "Just the horn on the saddle so I wouldn't fall." He burst out laughing. "Lady, that man wasn't using a saddle." Last week, I took my grandchildren to a restaurant. My 6-year-old grandson asked if he could say grace. As we bowed our heads, he said, "God is good. God is great. Thank you for the food, and I would even thank you more if Grandpa got us ice cream for dessert. And liberty and justice for all. Amen." Along with the laughter from the other customers nearby, I heard a woman remark, "That's what's wrong with this country. Kids today don't even know how to pray, asking God for ice cream. Why, I never..." Hearing this, my grandson burst into tears and asked me, "Did I do it wrong? Is God mad at me?" As I held him and assured him that he had done a terrific job and God was certainly not mad at him, an elderly gentleman approached the table. He winked at my grandson and said, "I happen to know that God thought that was a great prayer." "Really?" my grandson asked. "Cross my heart," the man replied. Then in a theatrical whisper he added, indicating the woman whose remark had started this whole thing, "Too bad she never asked God for ice cream. A little ice cream is good for the soul sometimes." Naturally, I bought my grandchildren ice cream at the end of the meal. My grandson stared at his for a moment and then did something I will remember the rest of my life. He picked up his sundae and, without a word, walked over and placed it in front of the woman. With a big smile, he told her, "Here, this is for you. Shove it up your bottom, you grouchy old bitch." Touches the heart, doesn't it? A guy walks into a bar with his pet monkey. He orders a drink, and while he's drinking it, the monkey is running wild. The monkey jumps up on the pool table and grabs the cue ball, sticks it in his mouth, and swallows it whole. The bartender is livid and says to the guy, "Did you see what your monkey just did?" "No. What did that stupid monkey do this time?" says the patron. "Well, he just swallowed the cue ball off the pool table, whole," says the bartender. "Yeah, well, I hope it kills him because he's been driving me nuts," says the patron. The guy finishes his drink and leaves. 2 weeks later, he comes back with the monkey. He orders a drink, and the monkey starts running wild around the bar again. While the man is drinking his drink, the monkey finds some peanuts on the bar. He grabs one, sticks it up his butt, then pulls it out and eats it. The bartender is disgusted. "Did you see what your monkey did now?" he asks. "What now?" responds the patron. "Well, he stuck a peanut up his butt, then pulled it out and ate it," says the bartender. "Well, what do you expect?" replied the patron. "Ever since he ate that darn cue ball, he measures everything first." An elderly priest, his eyes sparkling with good humor, turned to the younger priest beside him and said, "I must say, your idea to replace the first few pews with plush theater-style seats was inspired. It's remarkable how quickly those seats fill up now." The younger priest chuckled softly and gave a modest nod as the elder priest went on. "And I'll admit, when you suggested giving the hymns a modern twist, I was skeptical. But bringing in that rock and roll gospel choir has truly revitalized the congregation. It's wonderful to see every seat filled all the way to the balcony." "Thank you, Father," the younger priest replied, his tone humble yet pleased. The elder priest patted him on the shoulder, his expression kind. "Your enthusiasm and fresh ideas have been such a blessing to our parish. Truly, most of your innovations have been marvelous." The younger priest detected a hint of hesitation in the older man's voice and braced himself for what was coming. Sure enough, the elder priest continued, "That being said, I think you may have gone a step too far with the drive-through confessional." "But, Father," the young priest exclaimed, leaning forward earnestly, "attendance for confessions has doubled, and our donations are through the roof." The elder priest stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Yes, I've noticed. Your efforts haven't gone unappreciated, believe me, but the flashing neon sign on the roof that says, 'Confess and drive away,' well, let's just say it's a bit much." A man walks into a bar with his dog, but before they can take a seat, the bartender shakes his head and says, "Sorry, buddy, no animals allowed." To everyone's shock, the dog looks up and says, "Oh, come on. Can't a guy get a drink without all this fuss?" The bartender crosses his arms. "Nice try, pal. Another one of those talking dog gimmicks, huh? Not buying it. Both of you need to go." "It's not a trick, I promise," the man protests. "Here, I'll prove it. How about I step out for a bit? You can chat with my dog yourself." The man walks out, leaving the bartender alone with the dog. "So about that drink," the dog says, tail wagging. Stunned, the bartender blinks and mutters, "Okay, sure, on the house. But you know what? My wife works at the cafe next door, and she'd lose her mind if you walked in and ordered something. Here's $10. Get yourself a coffee and keep the change." The dog grabs the money and trots off toward the cafe. 10 minutes go by, and the dog hasn't returned. Just as the man comes back, he asks, "Where's my dog?" The bartender, looking worried, says, "He went to the cafe, but he hasn't come back yet." The two head out to find him. As they pass the alley between the bar and the cafe, they stop in their tracks. There's the dog, cozying up with a fancy French poodle. "Rover!" the man shouts. "What on earth are you doing? You've never behaved like this before." The dog turns his head nonchalantly and replies, "Hey, I've never had money before." A 20-year-old boy was delivering papers to an apartment in a block of flats. While there, a stunning young woman came out of the flat next to the mailboxes wearing only a robe. The boy smiled at the young woman, and she started up a conversation with him. As they talked, her robe slipped open, and it was obvious that she had nothing else on. The poor kid broke into a sweat, trying to maintain eye contact. After a few minutes of flirting, she placed her hand on his arm and said, "Let's go to my apartment. I hear someone coming." He followed her into her apartment. She closed the door and leaned against it, allowing her robe to fall off completely. Now nude, she purred at him. "What would you say is my best feature?" Flustered and embarrassed, he finally squeaked, "It has to be your ears." Astounded and a little hurt, she asked, "My ears? Look at these breasts. They are a full 38 inches and 100% natural. I work out every day and my ass is firm and solid. I have a 28-inch waist. Look at my skin, not a blemish anywhere. How can you think that the best part of my body is my ears?" Clearing his throat, he stammered, "Outside. When you said you heard someone coming, that was me." Karen lost her husband almost 4 years ago, and her heart had been stuck in mourning ever since. Her daughter kept encouraging her to open her heart and give love another chance, but Karen just wasn't sure she was ready. After a lot of loving nudges, Karen finally gave in and told her family she was willing to dip her toe back into the dating world, though she had no idea where to start. Her daughter didn't miss a beat and said, "Mom, I know just the man for you," and sure enough, sparks flew. After just 6 weeks of dinner dates, long talks, and plenty of laughs, her new gentleman invited her on a cozy weekend getaway to the Catskills. That first night, as they both got ready for bed, Karen slipped out of her clothes and stood there in nothing but a black bra and a pair of black lace panties. He, on the other hand, wore only his birthday suit. He couldn't help but ask, "Why the black underwear?" Karen gave him a sweet smile and replied, "My heart's finally open. My arms are ready for hugs, but down there I'm still in mourning." Safe to say, the poor guy got the message loud and clear. The very next night, the same scene unfolded. Karen still in her black panties and him in his birthday suit, but this time with a little twist. He was wearing a black condom. Surprised, Karen raised an eyebrow and asked, "What's with the black condom?" With a wink and a grin, he replied, I just wanted to offer my deepest condolences.